Women have been raised to endure a lot more than we talk about.
And that means not only women, we need to educate our men.
If it was men, abhi tak there would have been an industry like testosterone drops by 2%. Boom.
Tell me some of the things you ask the men.
I asked them, okay, do you know which are the hormones at play? Why do you think women wake up at night? What do you not tell perimenopausal women?
Is there anything that one can do postpone menopause?
Unpredictability of your cycle, to your mood. And that is what makes perimenopause so painful.
Is this part of peri? Am I going crazy? Is this off? It affected my work. So now I'm like, no good. Am I not sexy anymore? Or am I just going to be this raging lunatic with hot flashes? We have associated periods with just birth that we forget that these hormones also run our lives.
I've seen progesterone doing the trick.
I love it. I'm going to marry progesterone. I love it.
We're looking at estrogen declining. Reversal is just adding that estrogen back vaginally. Why are we not being more liberal with prescribing low-dose vaginal estrogen?
I also don't want it to be associated with feminist movement. This is just women asking for help.
Like death and menopause, so much in common, right? Both inevitable. Don't want to talk about both of them.
Are women starting HRT at the age of 65?
So there is no age cutoff to hormone therapy.
Yeah, I thought they were big घोड़े के injections. Hawa hai. Now what is HRT? And now I know it's not that big a deal. You have no idea how a woman feels and how alone she feels in this transition. And if you don't step up for her at this point, you really aren't a great spouse.
Every woman who perhaps is approaching menopause should consider HRT irrespective. Is that true? As you all know, my favorite topic across, I think, almost all episodes has been perimenopause. Maybe because I'm just in that phase. I know these words, perimenopause, menopause, they've suddenly become the talk of the town. And honestly, it's about time, because our bodies as women go through so much across the entire lifetime. There's puberty, there's pregnancy, postpartum, hormonal shifts, menopause. Menopause is actually just, it's a phase that doesn't just change your body, it changes pretty much everything. It's a journey. It's one that unfolds in stages. Perimenopause, menopause, and also postmenopause. And today we're going to talk about what actually happens during the transition, why it matters so deeply, how it impacts mental health, sexual health, relationships, and identity, and most importantly, why women, we deserve clarity instead of confusion, and support instead of silence. Hello and welcome to All About Her, a space where we have honest and meaningful conversations about women's health, wellness, happiness, and self-care. And today we're discussing menopause and life beyond. Our first guest today is someone who spent decades in front of the camera, shaping conversations, whether as a television host, an actor, a content creator, or a storyteller. Over the years, she's spoken openly and fearlessly about aging, identity, confidence, and also, very importantly for today, menopause. She's taken her own experiences and transformed them into something bigger for women everywhere, including founding Pauseitive, a community and platform dedicated to menopause awareness and support for women in their 40s and beyond. So please welcome Mini Mathur.
Yay!
Thank you for being here.
I'm so delighted.
To guide us through this conversation with science and sensitivity, we have Dr. Sukhpreet Patel, MD in obstetrics and gynecology with a master's in public health, HCA registered health and nutrition counselor, and also the founder of MenopauseWize. She is a doctor who works closely with women through some of the most misunderstood transitions of their lives, helping them navigate hormonal changes, mental health, sexual well-being, and long-term health, I think with clarity and with a lot of much needed compassion. So welcome to you both and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We've had one podcast already, I think it was on perimenopause mainly, and I think we just scratched the surface, although that's quite a painful metaphor, but we sort of just scratched the surface of it. I think, of course, we can have very lengthy conversations about this. And we were talking just before we started rolling about how there's some people who feel we're talking too much about it. Some of them I might be related to. But we feel like, oh, everyone's talking about their hormones and now everyone's talking about perimenopause, everyone's talking about menopause, and our mothers and grandmothers, sisters, never spoke about these things. So what's wrong with us? You know, why are we suddenly speaking about it? Are we speaking about it too much? And I thought if men went through, firstly, it's called menopause, but if men actually went through menopause, perhaps it would be different. Perhaps there would be a multi-million-dollar industry backing it. Perhaps there would be a range of products and perhaps there would be less shame, and perhaps there'd be more movies. Already like we have already Hindi cinema also talking about things like impotence and male infertility and things like that.
Balding, for heaven's sake.
Balding. And also are women talking about it more, men and women? I wanted to start with you, Mini, because this is now something that you are speaking about more formally. So in your experience, why have we not spoken about it so much?
Well, I just think that as a society, we've been raised, women have been raised to endure a lot more than we talk about, and we've been nurtured as caregivers and people who actually spend a lot of their lives looking after other people, and we are so conditioned to taking less space in a room. And no, don't mind me, I'm just here doing my thing, making your life comfortable, and we've had generations of those. If you really turn back and look at our mothers, when did we last hear them complain unless they went into a hospital with a broken pelvic bone or a whatever? I don't remember my mum ever telling me, I'm not feeling right. I think as a society, we are so conditioned to that we are perhaps the first generation of women who are looking at longevity in a way that suits us. And we're the first line of women saying, hello, I'm not feeling like myself. My work is getting displaced. I'm not behaving like I used to. There's something going on, even though I've lived really healthy, and I don't think I'm going to take this anymore. So what is going on? B, how do I sort this out? And 3, who are the people who are looking after what's happening to me? So these are questions that our generation is asking for the very first time, and that's why men feel it's all around, because it's literally the first time we've woken up to being able to say, this is crazy. What is going on?
It is
and
crazy.
Why has no one told me about this?
Yeah, it's so true. And I think, Dr. Sukhpreet, I was watching a lot of your interviews, and you've of course spoken about the fact that maybe 100 years ago, we didn't live through menopause because we died with menopause. So is that also a reason why we're talking about it more?
So that's one of the reasons. If I'm not going to live a chunk of my life post-menopause, then who has the opportunity to study it? But besides that, if you look at data coming out of, prior to 1993, studies were only focused on men, very few studies on women. But in 1993 was the first time that the US NIH publicly announced that it was mandatory to include women in all NIH-funded trials. So now we became important, that we had to be part of the trial, and that legislation made a huge difference. And then of course we're looking at women live beyond. It's not that we didn't really study women then, because if you look at the WHI, it was started in 1996, and there was some base over there saying that hey, something's happening, we need to think about hormones. So but we're 20 years down the road, and 30 years down the road, and
apparently we're making too much noise.
We need that noise.
We're making noise today. We want to make noise, and you're also making noise by bringing MenopauseWize. So tell me a little bit about that, and because you've referred to things that are happening in the West. And why women are now part and having to be made part of the conversation. Is that happening here at all?
Well, it's beginning to happen, and I think I'm very excited about people like both of you making noise about it, or at least speaking about it. I think we need to stop whispering and start shouting, because that's the only way we will be heard. And the whole principle behind MenopauseWize was, actually it started off with just me fidgeting around with a social media handle and saying, hey, let me just try and figure out what's happening with menopause, with myself, with my friends, with my colleagues. Everyone was going through similar symptoms, and it was surprising, because when I look at myself and I'm saying, hey, I have an MD in obstetrics and gynecology and I'm feeling lost. So now what's happening to the average woman here? It took a lot of reading, and because their literature is now beginning to take shape and give us some body of evidence to work on. But it started off with just wanting to help myself and people close to me.
I want to ask you a little bit more about MenopauseWize and what that will look like and what will be available to people in India. And also I wanted to ask you about the fact that the association, of course, with menopause, with perimenopause, is the declining of certain hormones, and we always assume that this just makes us infertile, this makes us unable to have children. But there's so much more to the role that those hormones play, and both of you know a lot about this. So it's not just about helping you cope with the symptoms, or some people will feel like, I'm not interested in having a child right now, so I don't need to cope with these symptoms. So it's so much more about that. So if you can just talk to us a little bit about that. And of course we will go into depth with a few other specifics.
So about MenopauseWize, this is just a vision, and my vision is MenopauseWize for all. And that means not only women, we need to educate our men, we need to educate our children, we need to educate workplaces, we need to look at a woman athlete going through menopause and the trouble that she is facing through it. Each one of us has peculiar, unique symptoms and demands, and I feel that there's a gap in every field, and each one of them needs to be plugged. Yes, in a simplistic way, it's a clinic where women can come, consult, and get some help. But then there's fracture prevention, there's pelvic floor physiotherapy, there is control of your lipids. There's just so much, and that brings me to the second part of your question, which was about it being beyond just reproduction. We have estrogen, progesterone, testosterone receptors on practically every cell in our body. And nature doesn't provide these receptors for no reason. There's a survival, it's a survival technique, right? Our entire body is structured according to that. And if there are receptors, it has a function. Otherwise, it would have been redundant.
Yeah.
And we now have evidence that lack of estrogen make us prone to heart attacks, it will make us prone to fractures, to dementia. Let's talk about skin, hair. You can go to any tissue that you want, and it's going to have an impact. Its withdrawal will have an impact.
Yeah. I think the problem is, Soha, that we have associated periods and the state of having your periods so strongly with just birth and fertility and the phase of you being, of you procreating, that we forget that these hormones also run our lives. They run our brain, they protect our, so many of our systems, like Doc just said. And for us to say, acha, abhi tumhe kyun chahiye? Why do you need them? You've had your babies, now shut the hell up and sit down. Yeah. It's not about that. It's also, it's taking me on a roller coaster as when my hormones go up and down, which don't just give me symptoms. 45% of women who are in perimenopause, which starts as early as 35 sometimes and lasts as long as 55 or even more. And it's not like it ends when you menopause, it continues till the time you're alive. It is manic shifts in, and physical symptoms aside, which obviously get all the attention of your hot flashes and your memory, loss or brain fog and rage. It's also to do with the loss of self-esteem, your confidence. You start questioning everything because you're suddenly reacting with irritability. It affects your relationships. Yeah. And these are just the emotional symptoms. Then you have symptoms that actually are exposing you to pelvic fractures, osteoporosis, to dementia. Your heart is unprotected. There's so many studies now that explain it. So we're not just talking about, hey, I'm having hot flashes and I'm not liking it. Right. It's about how the rest of my 40 years are going to go. Right. Emotionally, physically, mentally, relationship-wise, every-wise.
Right. And I have to say, I think I'm quite a well-informed person. I did realize that there's some kind of link between estrogen and heart health, and that's something that needs to be looked at. I do remember my mother being on some kind of hormone patch, and her having to, when we traveled, she'd have to look for a fridge and carry it. She, of course, had a hysterectomy, so she didn't need the progesterone. So there were little basic information, but...
Hormone patches need fridges?
No. Okay, her hormone...
At least now they are very different.
I'm just like, she's also my doctor, so I'm like, mine are not in the fridge.
Let's go. But she needed some kind of refrigeration. This was, of course, way back in like the 90s.
Well, they did have different, back then they had something called reservoir patches. Now they have matrix patches where the estrogen is actually blended in with the glue, as opposed to being separate
Yes.
from the glue.
Yeah.
So it is different.
We're all good.
Yeah. Okay, breathe. I wanted to ask you a little. So I was saying that I didn't know a lot of these connections as well, and even my exploration of HRT was simply from the point of view of, okay, my periods are becoming irregular. I'm feeling, a few, like dryness is a problem. So I wanted to address those, and then doing some research, I understood a little bit about things like bone health and brain health. And I will talk to you about that a little bit later. I wanted to ask you about positivity and also your experience with where you are. Menopause is that day where you haven't had your period for 12 months, but the whole journey before that, the whole journey after that is what we're talking about today. Referred to as the change, which is such an obscure, weird thing. Obviously, people are going to be like, we don't understand it. So if you can tell us a little bit about your journey and also the motivation behind positivity.
It's positive. Without the witty, it's positive.
Have I been referring to it as positivity this whole time?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
As
So we'll change
nativity.
that.
But it's okay.
Because I think in my head I was like, it's got nothing to do with positivity.
Yeah, it's not positive.
It's about pausing,
But it's okay.
and I know this.
Yeah. No, so for me, Soha, it was not something I intentionally chose. Okay, I've been a person who's been fairly fit and healthy, and I've really prided myself on keeping myself well, and that's part of what you do when you're on camera. You know, you and we've always been fit. So for me, I got really blindsided with the changes that were happening, and nobody could explain them to me. And imagine me with my resources and my information and my privilege and my access to everything. If I got blindsided and if I was like looking and struggling and saying, is this really part of what's happening, and is it even happening? Because my periods were regular, so I didn't understand why I was getting panic attacks, why I would walk into a room and not be able to remember anyone's name. Like, I remembered that I've worked with you and I'm really fond of you, but what the hell is your name?
Yeah.
Like, and that for a television host is crazy. You get onto stage, you don't know where your thought is going.
Yeah.
It affected my work.
Absolutely.
And that I took rather seriously. And then there were hot flashes, and there were so many other things that was just not so me. So I started putting them together, and I discovered that it was going down such a deep hole that if somebody like me, and I had to literally travel to Austria, okay, to Viva Meyer to be, I didn't know doc then. I didn't know of a single doctor who even supported HRT, and I was reading about hormone therapy, and I was like, this is something I need. Who's going to give it to me?
And this is when you're how old? Like, when is this happening to you?
So I got it pretty late. Like, I was like 40, 48,
Right.
okay, when I started feeling these symptoms.
And hot flashes, I always assume
Actually-
that hot flashes come later in the
48, 50,
journey of-
I can say 50. Yeah, I mean, it can come anytime. It
Right.
depends on how the fluctuation, and
Right.
Dot's going to explain that in a more, evidence-based way. I basically had to go abroad to understand how to administer HRT. I thought there were big ghode ke injections that I have to go into the hospital and take, because, itna hawa hai, there's such a big thing around what is HRT, and now I know it's nothing but a gel or a patch, and it's a tablet, it's not that big a deal that you're making it sound like a mini surgery. So anyway, I did that, and for me, my journey with this new role started because I said, if this is what can happen to somebody as aware as me, what is happening to the millions of women in this country who have no idea that these symptoms are even connected, and where are the resources? How do they reach out to people who can tell them, hey, relax, this can be sorted, you can feel better, you don't have to carry on like this, you don't have to divorce your husband because you hate him, it's like, no, it's,
I mean, you could if you want to.
You
That's
could, yeah, that's I will not step into that. But so basically I said, okay, now then for me it was like, I can't be a doctor now, so I have to be part of whatever I can certify to change the narrative, or to give information, or to have a platform that has access to all these resources. I did not choose it as a career shift. I chose it because it chose me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to just start talking about my experiences at large, because that's not a scientific way of doing about it. So I went about, taking about 2 or 3 years to certify myself as a women's health coach, specifically in the US, and then in functional nutrition, because lifestyle plays such an important role. So that's where I'm going with this. Right now, I'm just enjoying the fact that there are so many women just finding solace in the fact that people like me are coming out and talking about it, expressing myself, taking away the ageism from menopause and the lack of, you seem to associate so much sexuality and desirability with.
Yeah. And then the lack that you feel like.
And then you feel like, okay, so now I'm like no good.
Nothing.
Am I not sexy anymore or desirable anymore? Or am I not worth anything? Am I just going to be this raging lunatic with hot flashes? So it's nice to be able to just reach out and for people to say, if she can talk about it, hey, maybe I can talk about it, and ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and the plan is to do this through social media, or?
That was your first step.
Yeah.
What I really want to do, which is something that all of us have been discussing. So it's so nice to be able to be part of this
Community.
narrative and movement where nobody is gatekeeping this. Soha, it's the first time in 30 years that I have felt that I'm not competing with anyone.
Yeah.
The more the noise, the more people like you and her and everyone else, the
It's just
better.
helping.
It's just helping the movement.
Yeah.
So we actually have a bunch of really smart women trying to say, let's see how we can make this most effective. And everyone's doing their own thing, but we get together once a week and we exchange notes and saying, this is what happened, this is what this one's doing, this is working, this is not working. So I'm working on something which is going to be a resource platform where I bring everything together. But again, I don't want to shoot my mouth off before I've actually put it out there. I'm trying to first understand the woman.
Yeah.
What is it that she needs to be validated about? Is it resources that she's looking for? Is it information? Is it credibility? Is it just lifestyle hacks? Can I help her just ease her symptoms with what I've studied?
Yeah.
Or do I need to send her to doc first to get an assessment as to whether she's good for HRT? Where are you at? So I'm just enjoying these 6 months trying to understand more women and seeing where I want to go with this. And I'm loving every minute.
Yeah, I'm saying even the little bit of exploration I'm doing, because it also just leads to self-exploration and just understanding, just creates so much awareness, empowerment, take away the cobwebs, and life just becomes clearer and better.
Just get it out of the box.
Yeah.
Like you said right in the beginning, if it was men, abhi tak there would have been an industry, which it already is, like testosterone drops by 2%, boom, there's like some
and
product.
it's easy to understand. No, they just say low T. So it looks like, okay, this is the problem, this is the solution.
Yeah.
And then
But I think the big advantage that women have over men is the sisterhood.
One of them is sisterhood.
Yeah, I think, from kitchens to courtyards, community has always been our thing. And I feel like that men usually don't bond at that level, at the level that women can feel each other's pain, offer help. Yes, we can also be very nasty to each other, but I think in general, we are good collectively.
Yeah.
Nasty, it's because of hormones. I've only had the most wonderful experience with women.
Yeah, so
I mean, let's see, maybe those are
Okay,
rose-tinted
maybe it's an
glasses, but
overstatement, fine, okay.
I wanted to take a few steps back for some of the people who are watching. If you could, Dr. Sukhpreet, just explain what exactly is perimenopause and how is it different from menopause and what is postmenopause?
there is puberty, and then we have the middle, which is 15 to 45 roughly, is our reproductive age group, and then we have a beyond. So I like to look at perimenopause as puberty at the other end. So we have at puberty, it doesn't happen overnight, right? We have like 5 to 10 years, a girl slowly growing, breast buds are developing, she starts getting pubic axillary hair, she starts getting her period. Similarly, we have at the other end where now the ovaries had kicked in at puberty, now they're kicking out, and they do it with a solid fight. And so while they're fighting to survive, there is a lot of fluctuation. Sometimes a lot of estrogen, sometimes very little, sometimes some progesterone randomly thrown here and there. So it's just sprinkling all over, it depends. Your morning, your guess is as good as mine. It's just like, okay, it could go just any way. And that is what makes perimenopause so painful.
Yeah.
the unpredictability of your cycle, to your mood, to your sex life, to your relationship, to the irritability. That can last so long. It's average.
Go from 35 to 50.
So if you can look at it, okay, if you're lucky, it'll last a year, 2 years, and then for some it'll last a decade. And I think in some way menopause is that relief. Is when estrogen and progesterone and all your hormones now kind of plateau off like low down here. So even though your symptoms of hot flashes, your sleepless nights, etc. can get better, just because now you've developed a new status quo. This is your new normal, you're happy with it or unhappy with it or whatever the state may be. Basically, there's less turbulence. And now that is the post-menopause, where there is, menopause is, as you described, just 1 day, 12 months from your final menstrual period. So it has very little relevance really because it's 1 day. But the post-menopause is the chunk of our lives now. And you know, one of the things that I hear women often saying, including my own friends who are sometimes doctors, "Mera to menopause khatam ho gaya." Nahi khatam hota. Right? You continue to exist in a hormone-deprived state for 30 to 40 to 50 years, and that's a lot of years. So that is, post-menopause in short.
The question that I wanted to ask is, a lot of people feel, okay, if menopause is going to bring that, at least your estrogen, your progesterone is kind of reached a place where it's going to stay, and then your body can adjust to that. Is that something, I feel like a lot of people look forward to that, and they don't really think about, the question is because I know a lot of women in their 80s, because of my mother being also 81, and some things that they are consumed with now are UTIs. And this is not something that they have understood might have a seed from a couple of decades ago. And they are now, and it's not just an inconvenience. My mother lost somebody to a UTI because it went into sepsis, and so there's a huge fear, and that leads to anxiety also. You don't want to use bathrooms, you don't want to do this because you're like, I could get a UTI and that could mean death. And these are also, and I'll come to that a little bit later, but I wanted to ask you that, is there anything that one can do firstly to postpone menopause, and is that desirable?
So to postpone menopause, we do know that there are some studies which show that poor lifestyle brings menopause early. So like smoking, lack of exercise, weight has a J curve, so too lean, obese, they can bring about menopause early. In between is a good place to be. But we do not have studies that say if you live just right, you're going to push it down. So the important thing is, by living healthy, whether you postpone menopause or not, you're still building up your muscle mass and you're still building up a good structure to go through that turbulence. Like, I like to visualize the body like an airplane, and if you are sitting in an airplane that's flimsy, I don't know much about airplanes by the way, but if you're going to sit in one of those flimsy two-seaters, and when there is a storm, you are going to go down. But if you are in one of those gigantic ones, the turbulence, that's perimenopause. The sturdier the aeroplane, the sturdier our body is before that, the better we'll go through it. Because we're all going to lose that bone density during that time. Those 3 to 5 years, we're going to lose a lot of bone density. What was my reserve before that? That's really important. So, but coming back to your question about UTIs, was there a question?
Well, I want to come to that. We'll put that a little bit later. Can I ask you about your own journey? We were talking a little bit off screen, and a little bit of the research that I did said that the average age actually of menopause in India is as young as 46, which I didn't know. I just assumed that it was after the age of 50. So can you tell us why the age in India is a little younger, and also perhaps your own journey with menopause, and some of the symptoms that hit you first?
So average age of menopause is around 46, as you said, in Indian women. We don't have clarity about why, but there is some correlation with education, socioeconomic status, body weight. And it's possible that we are a mix of many of these factors that's making us menopause earlier. Can we really change that? Like, we don't know. But coming to my journey, I was pretty average in that sense, because for me it was 46 exactly. But symptoms for me started, as far as I remember, when I was around 43, 44. I didn't correlate those symptoms then. The menstrual irregularities, yes, but there were many other symptoms. Hot flashes, some days were good, some days were awful. I wasn't sleeping well. And I think one of the ones that I think a lot about now is panic attacks. And I remember going in for the procedures that I've done gazillion times before, but now fear that something was going to happen to this woman while she was on my table. And I remember towards the end, I was asking someone to come. Like, I would ask a colleague, hey, listen, can you just come and stand here? Not realizing, who is this woman? Like, who has she become? Why am I afraid of this when I shouldn't be? So I think, like, at that point in time, for me, I had become this person who thought lifestyle was going to solve all my problems. And I decided I was going to brave through it all. I don't want to take any hormones. Do it naturally.
Gracefully.
More than naturally, it was lifestyle. For me, that the word natural just triggers me, so I don't use it. Yeah.
Why does that trigger you?
Because we are, how natural are we? How natural are we today? We are not, you know, I have people asking on social media, oh, give us a natural remedy. And I'm like, first thing, social media isn't natural. So it's
my simple explanation is this. You want to do it naturally, then women should be, I'm sorry, but then dying in childbirth. There is a reason science invented the C-section.
Yes.
Yeah. It's to correct things.
Yeah, I always thought there was nothing natural about natural childbirth, but I thought that was just me.
So I think the natural is just one of those trigger words, and I feel abused, overused a lot by also the nutraceuticals, because everything is packaged as natural. And what about the capsule cover, and what about the way it was processed? So I think, like, that's a separate topic altogether.
So we need a reality check on, like, look, not much is very natural.
So
but don't obsess about that.
Absolutely. But I really felt lifestyle was going to do it all for me. And to be honest, I'm glad I went through that journey, because for 5 years I took no hormones. I plateaued off in 2 years, symptoms got better, sleep came back, and it made me not leave any stone unturned when it came to lifestyle. So the gym, my food, it was pristine. Till I saw my blood pressure slowly, steadily rising. My bone densitometry was like, ouch. I was like, no, this can't happen to me.
Cholesterol?
Sorry?
Cholesterol?
Cholesterol so cholesterol, I've been one of those who's been fighting with it since I was 35. But yes, it was getting, the trajectory was just, whatever I did, it wasn't working.
That's what set me off. I've never had those numbers.
It's just like, where did these come from? But that's when and also I think at that time, my fear was dementia. My fear was that there were some studies, forget the WHI, but there were some other studies that showed some correlation with hormone therapy and dementia. And that really worried me, family history, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this. For that specific reason, I actually desperately wanted to take hormones, but dementia was really holding me back. But then came Dr. Lisa Mosconi's paper. That changed a lot for me. And that was only in 23.
Wow.
So till then, I was sitting and reading every research paper there was, but that dementia bit was really pulling me back.
For those people who don't know what Dr. Mosconi does, she actually did a paper on the neurological impact of menopause on women and made those correlations, that it was like life-changing for anyone who actually goes through her study.
In what way?
Because it actually, allow her to say it.
So her paper basically studied a large volume of women. There were like, I think, close to 5 million, and the impact of hormone therapy on risk of dementia. And what it basically showed is, if you start it early enough, that is that window of opportunity, and if you're looking at when your cells are already healthy, if you start estrogen alone, which is used only for women who don't have a uterus, there could be a lower risk of dementia. But for those who start estrogen and progesterone early enough, there is a null effect. It doesn't make it better or worse.
Okay.
And I think not better, not worse was enough for me to take it.
And is there a situation where it makes it worse?
If you started late. So above 65, there was a slight increase. It wasn't statistically significant in her paper, but to be honest, they had a lot of mixed studies and it wasn't a randomized controlled trial. So we don't have that data with us.
Right.
So far, I think women need to know that starting early
Is not a bad thing.
Is not a bad thing, but don't expect it to prevent dementia.
Sure.
We don't have that data.
Right. But are women starting HRT at the age of 65 also?
They didn't have that option and resource before that. So it's, if we're saying that the last 2 years have been defining in how we look at HRT, and even doctors who are willing to, the FDA warning has just been taken off like 2 months ago.
Wow.
So of warning labels
Right.
on the HRT box. So I'm saying if you start now, I know a lot of 65-year-olds who menopause 10 years and before who are like, can we take it now?
Yeah.
So for them, so what she means, I think by window of opportunity is the closer you start it to the date you menopause, the more beneficial.
That I understand,
Or
but
more
if you are 65 and you
Yes.
haven't had that opportunity, would it still be advisable to take HRT, or is it?
It needs to be individualized. So there is no age cutoff to hormone therapy. There is no contraindication. Age is not a contraindication.
Right.
Just your risk-benefit ratio keeps changing as you
Right.
go along.
Okay.
So we can only use what data we have from the WHI, because that's the large study that has used women, has had women in 3 different categories: 50
Right.
to 59, 60 to 69, 70 to 79.
Right.
And extrapolating that data today to the formulations we have today,
Yeah.
it has its own problems. It's
Yeah.
full of bias, right?
Yeah.
We cherry pick very often. We'll say, oh, it reduced fracture risk and it reduced this, but now it increased this. Can we say the same thing about transdermal estrogen? We have fewer studies, but I'm very optimistic that we'll have much more in the next decade. But coming back to that 65-year-old, yes, we are actually individualizing each woman,
Right.
because no 2 65-year-olds are the same.
Right. No, so the question is that it's not like a clear answer.
No.
So it is, you can explore that.
Absolutely.
Potentially. Mini, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, you said hot flashes at quite an early stage. You said, of course, that this happened to you not as...
Actually, I still am in the middle of peri. So
Right.
I still haven't hit the mark.
Right.
Which hopefully I will soon.
So in the beginning, when you were doing nothing to address it, what were some of the symptoms? And then if you can take us a little bit through how those symptoms, you feel like you might have got a handle on them. And it's a huge question, so I'm not saying all the lifestyle changes and all the supplementation and all the HRT, but just firstly the beginning.
The beginning. So for me, I think the changes that I started noticing, was strange abdominal weight gain. Okay,
Yeah.
it was just like you're working out, you're eating right, but there is this little abdominal thing that you're going. Then my hot flashes actually came much later. I started peri only late 40s. Like I'm 54 today, and I'm still awaiting the big day. So the thing is that hot flashes, for me, brain fog started the first, which is what threw me off. A little bit of anxiety for somebody who's so social and enjoys people and names, and I was the kind who would remember your cousin's kids' birthdays. Like for me, not to remember their name was huge. So I thought I was actually getting early, dementia or something like that. I had that. I got all these individual tests done, okay, and all the doctors that I went to, okay, sorry, I'm not going about it the right way. It was lack of sleep, okay, sleep disturbances, which was huge. I used to sleep like a log 8 hours, but here I was awake at 3 a.m. not understanding why I couldn't go back to sleep. That was a tumbling cycle into anxiety in the morning, brain fog, a little bit of, so it just, everything led into the other, and then came the hot flashes. And then, like Doc said, panic. Okay, suddenly I would be like just panicking about going on stage, which I've done like 30,000 times before. All these things, every time I went to a doctor, whether it was my gynac or it was my GP, I got symptomatic relief prescribed to me. Okay, take an anti-anxiety pill, take a sleeping pill,
Meditate.
meditate, journal, which is all, well,
Yes,
it
yes.
works, it has its benefits, but hello, they weren't sorting me out.
Yes.
So I got prescribed a whole lot of drugs which I did not take, because that was the tipping point for me. I was like, I am not taking these drugs to just get my symptoms. Why is this happening? So I have that brown Indian student gene, okay, which says I must get to the bottom of this. What is happening to me? And that's how I started learning about it and saying, I'm not taking symptomatic relief. I need to address what is happening. So it's the hormone imbalance. How do I get the hormone balance, hormones to balance? Okay, let me just go to Viva Mayer, because that was, accessible. And I remember 3 days into my program, I went to Dr. Ingrid and I said, Dr. Ingrid, I've been hearing about HRT and I just wanted to know, am I a good candidate? And she's like, what about HRT? I said, do you think I should be on it? She said, I already put you on it 3 days ago. So I said, it's that
You
simple.
must have signed a form saying that you can put me on whatever you want
it was
to put me on.
progesterone cream, and it was just that. But that itself took away so many of my symptoms, and that's when I came back and I was like, I need to study this. I need to understand why so many people don't know about this, and why are doctors blindsiding me?
Yes.
Why are the top of the line gynecologists telling me, not even putting in the option of HRT on the table?
Yes.
Put it on the table, assess me for it, get my risk profile, and then let me take that call. You can't use your biases to decide what I should or should not give, because you're not going to live the next 40 years with me, right? And that's when I understood, I'm so sorry, and correct me if I'm wrong, that even in medical school, the number of hours they spend on menopause per se is very, very minuscule.
Sure.
All the time is spent on, pregnancy and childbirth and IVF and
It's
everything
productive.
else. It's productive,
It was a productive menopausal woman.
Yeah. So I said, okay, then let me get into it and figure out what everyone's trying to figure out right now. Let me just get
But
into
it was
this.
the same for me. Like, it started with insomnia, and again, going to sleep, and somebody who slept like a log, waking up at 3 feeling so anxious. And I'm not typically an anxious person, and I didn't realize at all. I really thought it was insomnia, or I thought it was some other kind of stress. And I went to I didn't even go to a gynecologist. I went to the GP, who suggested melatonin. I know how you feel about melatonin, and I will ask you. He said meditate and do these exercises. Didn't help at all, and melatonin I was resistant to taking, I went to the gynecologist also for dryness repeatedly. Nothing. There was no. I really suffered until I met somebody who suggested going to a hormone therapist, a specialist, and even then. To do specific things to address the dryness, it was like a journey where I had to understand my body, and I had to suggest that perhaps this is something, and I'm very apprehensive to do that because I'd have no training in this, and I don't want to, because then you might give it to me, but I asked for it. So why is there this resistance on behalf of doctors, gynecologists even, to perhaps prescribe this or even suggest it, because nobody even suggested it?
I think it goes back to systems problem. If you look at it in a just and fair way, as Mini pointed out, if you're not trained, it's like throwing an adult into the swimming pool when they've never learned how to swim and say, now swim. So maybe you'll swim, maybe you'll sink. And so to be fair to the medical community, I wasn't trained. So it took 2 years of just immersing myself in menopause inside and outside to really get a hold of it and say, hey, I actually know some stuff now. So I feel, let's be fair about it. I'm not justifying that they don't need to read. Everyone needs to, not only gynecologists. But I remember I did my MD in 96, and we were prescribing hormones then. I was in KEM, we were prescribing hormones back then, and including prescribing my own mother. And 2002, I remember making that phone call telling mom, hey mom, stop. So that was then, we all stopped prescribing. And look at us now, 25 years later, things have changed, but now it's only in 22 where certain guidelines came out, certain statements came out. So it's only been a few years since all of this has happened. Give us some time to catch up.
Even in the West, they're just like a year and a half, 2 years ahead of us in this conversation. In fact, so many friends in the UK are exactly where we are. So you would think that the Western countries, of course, they have more data and they have more science than us. We have no data on Indian menopausal women. Isn't that shocking?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not
should
so
it not be included in
absolutely.
all
Textbooks.
your research and data, which I think Doc is really working hard to get through, get done. But I just feel that we don't have enough data to specify, make specifics for Indian women. So we're just going by the movement.
Yeah. I wanted to ask a little bit about the symptoms, starting with sleep, because sleep is so fundamental. And when you have a good night's sleep, you just feel armed for the day. And if you don't have it back to back to back, especially as women, you crumble. Firstly, I feel like I've heard this before, but in case my husband is watching this, women need more sleep than men.
Well,
please say yes.
Yes.
Because that well is not, an hour more also is fine.
Well,
it's not true.
But I guess we all follow a very different, again, I keep going back to the bell curve, because we'll be those who say, okay, 7 is enough, but for some you need 8.5. So it depends on what really works for you. But because women are usually multitasking and they are doing so much more than their male counterparts, I think more than they need, they deserve.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if this deserve argument is going to go down well with Kunal, but but talk to me about sleep. What is happening to our sleep during perimenopause? And I understand that you've also said that addressing hormones may not be the only answer, because there's also a bunch of things like good sleep hygiene.
Right. So what's happening during perimenopause is typically you see progesterone decline. And progesterone is a very calming hormone. It stimulates GABA receptors in our brain. So it is a neuroendocrine hormone. It's got a really important function in our brain. Those panic attacks very often are because of progesterone, the lack of it. And so lack of progesterone, again, so ultimately if you don't have progesterone, sleep may be disrupted. We are looking at then lack of estrogen, that causing hot flashes. So you have a hot flash at night, it's called a night sweat. And when you have night sweats, obviously you're waking up many times at night, taking out your blankets, putting it back again, the entire disruption. But also estrogen is involved in the production of serotonin, and a decline in that can disrupt sleep. We're looking at women with the genitourinary syndrome of menopause, as you pointed out, with recurrent UTIs, but they can also develop what we call nocturia, so basically having to wake up many times at night to just go pee. So that itself can wake her up. And then there's life happening. So there may be a partner who's snoring, a pet who shares your bed. There could be that whole, you wake up so tired, you're fully caffeinating yourself through the day. So now there's so much caffeine lurking around. So it is...
Plus, if I may add, Doc, it's also cortisol signaling, no, in the middle of the night? Or no? Because, like, in the sense that don't your hormones suddenly, like if you don't have good sleep hygiene, then, at 3 o'clock, what is this 3 o'clock hour that everybody wakes up? It's your cortisol kicking in?
So most of the times cortisol typically would kick in at 4 or 5 a.m. That's a normal natural peak which happens. It's basically nature's way of saying get up and go.
The sun is
hunt.
up.
So that's the natural peak, but of course it can be distorted because of your hormones. And why one wakes up at that 2-3 o'clock is the $1 billion question. Very often I feel I've seen progesterone doing the trick. You give a woman progesterone and I get a message the next morning, I slept after 5 years last night.
I love it. I'm going to marry progesterone. I love it. It's like my forever friend.
No, it's true. The other thing that bothered me was dryness. And they said a lot of men, it's just dryness in your skin, vagina, everywhere. It's just you're being dried from inside out. So what is causing that? And a little bit on sexual health also, because that's a big obstacle then to just even wanting to have sex. Is that why people say the libido also declines, or that's also, that's in addition to the dryness?
So dryness is everywhere, because we've got estrogen receptors everywhere. Even we're looking at dry eye, we're looking at burning mouth, because now that's dry. We're not producing enough saliva, all our glands are affected. But when we come to the vagina and the vulva and the health down there, it's something that tend to moisturize our hands and our face, and then we leave that area out. But it deserves that moisture as well. And the funny thing is, it has such a simple solution. You know, we're looking at estrogen declining, causing, in some way, it's called atrophy of the vaginal epithelium, so the lining's becoming thin. Now, automatically, if your lining, it's like if I have dry hands and if I keep rubbing it, it is going to scrape off and cause pain. Now, imagine a woman having sex with that dryness.
Yeah.
And the reversal is just adding that estrogen back vaginally. It's simple, it's safe. The safety net is so huge that now we have breast cancer patients using it. Age is no bar, so we have 90-year-olds using it to prevent recurrent UTIs. And like, there is just no reason why nobody should be using it. It's actually over the counter in the UK.
Yeah.
So why are we not being more liberal with prescribing low-dose vaginal estrogen? You know, it's one of those things that can take away her dryness, make the act of intercourse not painful. Forget about pleasure, but at least not painful.
Yeah.
And when we look at the whole prescriptions of Viagra going up and up, globally, globally we are looking at them going up, and then you're looking at women with dryness.
Not sounding like a good combo.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One of three things can happen. Now, either this man is using the Viagra for someone else and not his partner, or he is forcing it down her, and you know, that can't be fun, and that for me is equivalent to rape.
Yeah.
Or thirdly, it's impacting their relationship. They have decided to live as brother sister for the rest of their lives, and that's about it.
Yes, and this is a reality.
Yeah.
This happens, I'm saying, even in relationships where people can communicate and you can have these conversations. If you do not have a solution, it's still going to create that distance. Yes. I feel, because you feel like, but I'm not in the mood, I'm physically not there, I cannot, I'm dry, it's painful. Yeah. Husband obviously may even be a sensitive person, is not going to push himself on you, but what does he do? Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Mini, in terms of also, because it's a place that you're working in as well, are these conversations happening more frequently now, and are people actually talking about solutions? And vaginal estrogen, you said, is not available in India over the counter locally as a cream? It is available on prescription. But it's not hard to get anything without prescription in India.
Okay. You can just order it from your medicine wala and it will come. It's supposed to be a prescription drug, but it is not.
And this is an OTC, a standardized local.
Yeah, but you have to do it with a doctor's approval and prescription for sure for yourself. You'd be stupid to just like call the bhaiya ji bhej do.
Yeah.
But
no, the idea is that if this is something that you're suffering from, to speak to a doctor and to at least say that, okay, I believe this is a solution that exists. Is this something that I can try, and how should I go about it? And hopefully then you'll receive a positive response.
Yeah. That is the $1 million question.
Yes.
Not the other million.
Because I know that I've gone with dryness for about a year and a half and asked repeatedly, and this was never suggested to me.
Yeah, I think one problem lies there is the fear of estrogen. Even though systemic absorption, like absorption in your blood, is negligible to zero when you use it vaginally in that dose. But the second part is also the liberal use of lubricants which don't work.
Yeah.
So we have 3 categories of lubricants, and we are so used to prescribing or suggesting one of these, you know, they're basically water-based lubricants which dry out in like 5 seconds.
That's been suggested to me as well.
Yeah. So in the middle of an act, you're like using it many times. Yeah. That's one. Second thing is, if you look at the data, I actually sat with a whole load of research. So now the WHO has a cutoff of the osmolality that water-based lubricants should have. Now, osmolality basically means there's high concentration, low concentration, and we know through physics that from low concentration to high concentration, water moves across a membrane is what we call, you know, osmosis.
Right.
And when we use the current lubricants available, they have an osmolarity of 2000, 6000, when the vagina has an osmolarity of 300. So when we use such hyperosmolar substances, it automatically, when you use it, it's sucking out more water. So yes, it feels moist when you use it at that time, but in the long run, it's actually making your vagina more dry, making you prone to infections. And I've seen so many of these. I've actually sat with all of them available. And if you look at them, they will say natural because they've got 1 drop of aloe vera in it or something like that.
Right.
So flavored. Yeah. So there are lots of them.
See, this is something I had no idea about, that also the repeated use of this could actually be a counter productive. I wanted to ask a little bit about what I said earlier in terms of, you want to say something also, and just the idea of like this conversation about sexual intimacy, whether people are having it more, and also the role of partners in this.
Right. So, sexual intimacy, I think Doc would know better. From my perspective, I just feel that conversations around every single aspect that's impacting women has only grown. I have hundreds of women who want to just be validated for, is this part of peri? Am I going crazy? Is this off? You know, and just to tell them, no, this is fine. And part of what I've certified to do, which is, you know, be a women's health coach. It sounds really broad, but it's actually 80% of what I studied was how to talk to women to break their lifestyle habits, to get them to closer to their health goals. And when it comes to perimenopause, it's largely to just listen to a woman saying, this is what's happening and this is what's happening, and she has no idea, and to just put it in an umbrella and then break it down gently and say, okay, let's take one step ahead and get you to do this from your busy life. You know, let's just start with you going to the gym and just taking some time out for you, and, you know, talking to your husband. As far as role of partners is concerned, I'm very happy to talk about this because I just feel I have 10% of positive followers are men, which makes me really very impressed.
Amazing.
To say that there are so many men who say, you know, I'm going to tell my wife this. Thank you for telling me. I'm going to take her to a doctor. You know, because they are also getting impacted.
Exactly.
Let's face it, these are relationships that are falling apart because of how one partner is feeling, and she's not being able to decode it. You have to step into the place where she's unable to help herself, because Soha, I was at that point where I could not take one step forward. It was one step forward, 2 steps back. I was standing in the same place just trying to make sense of what was happening. It was terrible, and this is happening to someone as self-aware as me.
And the support for you came from where?
First, it came from me and myself. I became my own health advocate. I have to tell you, I shouldn't have had to be. But when I started studying, and I was studying US time, so I would sit and literally like go through everything and then
like, anyway, I'm
unload
up a tree. I might
in
as
the
well.
middle of brain fog, where I had to read the same page 500 times. But Kabir was right there, and I would just say, you know, did you know this? And he became like, did you know? Then he said, you know, my Insta algorithm is messed because now I only get menopause reels on
That
my
as it should be.
page. As it should be. I was like, great. Because I'm only forwarding him stuff from Dr. Mosconi and all the people who are doing wonderful stuff. And
he did really well in the quiz.
He did. So I had a little bit of a quiz on my page saying, and it was literally packed up.
Tell me some of the things you asked the men.
I asked them, okay, do you know which are the hormones at play? Why do you think women wake up at night? What are the top 5 symptoms that your wife is facing? How do you deal with women? What do you not tell perimenopausal women? So he was like, you don't tell them you're looking fat. Soye nahi kya? He said, these are the things you don't do.
Looking a little tired.
But more importantly, so he literally got 100 on 100 on the quiz, and everybody thought I'd fixed it, but I hadn't.
Of course,
because I was like, no, he's also one of this, I'm first, I knew everything. He even knew that HRT is called MHT now, so he's a good husband, okay? He's like a menopausally trained husband.
Lovely.
But why should he be the anomaly?
Yeah, exactly.
If your wife has looked after everything for you, and even if she hasn't, the point is, this is the time when you step in. Not before, not after. Everyone oohs and ahs over your pregnant belly and the cute baby and a cute pregnancy fat and all of that. Everyone's invested in it because that's you developing as a unit. But you have no idea how a woman feels and how alone she feels in this transition. And if you don't step up for her at this point, you really aren't a great spouse. Like most Indian men, I feel, are like 2 on 10, including the really wonderful ones who are there and they are woke. But in this aspect, they really need to pull their socks up, understand what's going on, and be there to support. Take her to doctors that she's not able to, get round to contacting, Go to the gym, take her with you, get her a trainer, invest in her sleep hygiene. Don't say, "Nee, I want to watch a film," and she wants to block off blue lights and go to sleep at 10 o'clock because she's been mandated to do that.
Right.
So it's these kind of little things that everyone must step into.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that much to feel better.
No, it
just
doesn't.
needs a whole lot of understanding and validation to say you're not going crazy.
Yeah, but it's definitely much easier to do. We might be getting used to asking for things for ourselves, you, me, and yourself. But for a lot of women out there, it's not even an option.
Indian women shrink themselves. They
Yeah.
don't take
So I'm
space
saying
in
that
the room.
if you can create just a supportive environment, that must make a huge entire difference.
I think there's also some pride in being the martyr.
Yeah.
And centuries of just conditioning that I went through so much.
Yeah.
There is no award at the end of this.
No.
So I think like that is something that women need to stop saying, "Oh, I went through 24 hours of labor," and so everyone loves their child as much.
Yeah.
And it is not going through a C-section doesn't make you love them less, and going through 50 hours of labor doesn't make you love them more.
Yeah.
So everyone's child is precious to them. And so similarly, everyone's body is also precious to them. And just because you went through a crazy menopause doesn't make you, if you've got help, just use it.
Absolutely.
So
And on the other side of the spectrum, Doc, I also don't want it to be associated with some kind of a feminist movement. This is not a feminist movement. This is just women asking for help.
Yes.
So please stop associating it with toxic femininity. Oh, now everybody is talking about menopause. But yeah, this is high time.
Yeah.
They're talking about how they feel. It has nothing to do with you. Just listen.
Yeah.
That's the least you can do.
And it has everything to do with you also. So, because you mentioned going to the gym and abdominal weight gain in the beginning, when you said that was also one of the first things that suddenly you felt a little bit of a pouch. I feel like I've weighed a certain weight my whole entire life. Even
Wait, are we going to talk about your fitness struggles here?
yeah, a little bit. Can we not talk? I mean, I
Fine.
also I'm experiencing the change.
Okay.
I weighed even when my daughter was born, I bounced right back. I lost all that weight, and then suddenly around 45, there was just a little bit of that abdominal. What's the word? Fat, I think is the word.
Just say it.
What is that word? Yeah. Okay. So, and that also there's a link between estrogen, insulin resistance, the receptors, blood sugar. So talk to me a little bit about that you're doing everything right. Minnie was doing everything right. I was doing everything right, and suddenly there was this.
Yeah. So now we recognize the menopause transition as what they call a cardiometabolic shift. That means it's not just your period going, it is that entire metabolic shift. And they call it cardiometabolic because when you're looking at metabolic health, we're looking at everything. We're not only looking at your lipid profile, but it's your insulin, your blood sugar, and the different parts of that lipid profile, different kinds of cholesterol. So if you look at that, you're basically looking at estrogen, which was helping regulate blood sugar in many different ways, but specifically through insulin, now no longer is helping it out. So insulin levels can go up a little bit, so developing what we call insulin resistance. And now insulin resistance means your blood glucose is going to start to fluctuate. So we've seen women who now have always had pristine blood sugars, and now they're looking at a trajectory that's going upwards with what they do, the 3-month test, which is the glycosylated hemoglobin, HbA1c, and you look at those from being normal, like let's say a 4.5, going to pre-diabetic 5.6, 5.7, and now reaching 6. And I know really fit women who are struggling with that. So something's happening, and the whole definition of a hormone is a substance which is secreted by a gland sitting or tissue in some area, but having impact in a tissue which is remote. So that's the whole definition in a simplistic way of a hormone. So automatically produced by the ovary mainly, but it's acting everywhere.
Yeah.
And now if you're looking at insulin going up, insulin is kind of in a way, again simplistic way, lipo, it doesn't really help lose fat.
Yeah.
It kind of stores, it tells the body, hang on. and hanging on that fat is this.
Yeah.
The body there is another hypothesis that it's nature's way of making us produce some estrone, which is a type of estrogen produced post-menopause, and fat tissue helps do that. So it's kind of conserving.
Right.
But while doing so, it more than the subcutaneous fat, which we can see outside, is the inside, the visceral fat, which is stuck to our intestines and our internal organs, which is associated with heart attacks and diabetes, strokes, all the works basically. All that is happening around here.
Right. And then supplementing with a little bit of estrogen can address this.
It may or may not.
I mean, I'll come to that just a little bit later, because I think these are things that there are so many symptoms, but the lack of sleep, and you referred to good sleep hygiene, and I think somewhere also you said, it's what you do 12 hours prior to going to sleep that actually makes a difference. And something that you do, which I also do, is turning off all the lights.
Absolutely.
It is 8 o'clock, it is pitch dark in our house, and Kunal's like, I understand Inaya needs to go to bed, but I can stay up for another few hours. Nobody rings the doorbell. Yeah. So everyone, I think even our dog who's under the table, just understands it's bedtime. He also has good sleep hygiene. Yeah. So this is something that you're particular about.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am obsessed with my sleep. My children are now adults, they're 24 and 21, but they know, don't message mom now, don't call her now. At 9 p.m. I see this message from my son who's in Toronto just now, Mom, are you awake?
Yeah.
So it is, he knows that I'll be like at least data off by then. And the importance of course, light. Like I feel we engage in anti-melatonin activities.
Yeah.
We'll go to the supermarket, we'll put on our lights, and then now we want to take melatonin.
Yeah. So
it's like, where does this doesn't make sense?
Are you practicing good sleep hygiene?
Absolutely. I treat
You said
sleep
absolutely, so I was going to say
that's Indian way of yes. No, I do. I treat sleep now like a ceremony because I've spent a year and a half of broken sleep, and I know what that did to me. It was just adding that chronic stress to my system, which was destroying it was like a cascade effect.
So what are some things that you're doing?
So again, I start, for me, it's like melatonin and cortisol, okay? They are opposing hormones, which means one goes down, the other one comes up. So I start disengaging with stressful conversations post 5. So if you are too hard on my system, bye-bye. Which is why tomorrow. One thing that is really reduced, and I keep telling myself, have I become boring? Have I become socially inactive? Is saying no. Yeah. Okay, so socializing has taken a big hit because now I literally have to choose and cherry pick where I need to spend my waking hours. So by about 10ish, it's dark. All the pilot lights of and my husband and my big romance is to watch a film in bed in the night. Like it's like literally a thing for 20-25 years.
Filmmakers.
Yeah, but because that's the only time we get to unwind and do all of that, but that has taken a hit. So we have separated the TV watching time, or headphones have happened, sleep masks have happened, but mostly it's dark. I get to bed by 10:30. I try no caffeine post 5 o'clock, no stressful people. I take my progesterone. I took 2 months of melatonin to sort of regulate it when those people prescribed it, but now I don't need it at all. Right. And I wake up on time, and the moment I wake up, I want to kick in the cortisol. So I go and I stand in the sun for 5 minutes.
That's supposed to be good.
Yeah, and it's really made a difference. I used to think it's mumbo jumbo, stand in the sun, breathe, do all of that. I said, it's not for me. I'm a gym goer. I like this and that. But it really makes a huge difference. So I go and I stand in the sun.
Because standing in the sun is also doing something to...
It's signaling your cortisol and your melatonin. And your melatonin. So your rhythm, your circadian rhythm is coming back into balance.
And 12 hours later, that will be
plus your room needs to be cool. Okay, you can't have, if your room is warm and humid, then you're going to be disturbed. Anything that triggers a little disturbance in your sleep can keep you awake. So to ensure that, it's almost like putting a toddler to sleep and then putting myself to sleep. I have to make sure everything is.
And then how you addressing
data off.
How are you addressing the pouch?
The pouch. It still exists. But I'm making my peace.
So my question, so Niranjana, who you know Nina, every podcast that we have, she has a question and we try and debunk that or affirm that. And her question for this podcast was that actually weight gain is inevitable. It's a part of menopause, and our bodies will change. And instead of trying to fight that change, we should just embrace it. So are you holding on to like an older version of you?
No, I've let myself change in many, many ways that have really worked for me. Okay, my sense of perfection, which also includes the body, it was never perfect, but I was holding on to so many things that I felt need to be just so. I've let go of so much of that, and that has really helped me look at my body in a different way as well. So some things that I feel I have done which have kind of made my abdominal kangaroo pouch a little better, which is not doing very high intensity workouts or working out a little earlier in the day, and all of that has helped. Nutrition has helped, keeping my gut clean has helped, and sleep has helped. So the abdominal pouch I had 2 years ago, I don't have now. So I feel some of it somewhere may be working, but is it a flat stomach, the kind I had before I started Peri? No, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And Dr. Sukhpreet, tell me about this abdominal weight gain. You said that estrogen support might help, but not for everyone. Strength training?
Strength training, in fact, estrogen, I haven't seen any data saying that it is going to help reverse it. But strength training is the golden, it's the golden factor for all of perimenopause and postmenopause. I feel, so I am today 10 kilos heavier than I used to be when I went through menopause. But it's all muscle.
Yeah.
Like I have never had so much muscle before. It's been a lot of hard work, lot of hard work. And I feel that this is the big bank I want to build. I still have not accepted that I have crossed my peak. So I feel like when it's time to go downhill, I want to go downhill with a big bank of muscle.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep building it till I plateau off. It will happen at some point, but I feel like that is the one bank that women need to really work on. It will protect us against all illnesses, from Alzheimer's to diabetes to fractures to you name it. Like I feel better skin, better hair, better everything. Just work on bone health and everything else will just fall into place.
But can you like educate us simply in terms of that connection between bone health and all the wonderful things that you referred to?
Sure. So if I have to look after my bones, then I have to make sure that I work out. It means I have to eat well, enough protein, enough fiber, enough antioxidants, because those antioxidants are going to bring my inflammation down, they're going to help me in recovering. And then I have to make sure I sleep well, because if I don't sleep well, then I'm not going to hit the gym. And that automatically now takes care of 3 of the 4 lifestyle pillars. And stress, we know that when we exercise, there is release of endorphins, there's release of all these beautiful hormones which are going to help us calm down, help us sleep better. So that's just in a very simple way, like target bone health, everything else will happen. But if we look at, muscle and the amount of glucose it needs, it's hungry.
Yeah.
Right. So even at rest, 2 women, same weight, sitting and having coffee, one will be burning barely any calories at rest, the other one much more, depending on how much muscle mass she has.
Right.
So we can be eating the same things, but we're putting on different amounts of weight.
Right.
So,
and I've been told actually then perhaps in your late 40s you should avoid doing too much cardio, because that's just eating away at your muscle mass.
I think there is a place for cardio. Like I love my runs.
Yeah.
They're shortened over time, but I feel the kick that a run gives, nothing else gives.
Yeah.
Just nothing else. There's a social factor. There's a lot of other factors to it. But we know today that we also need that sudden surge, because the arteries of the brain, the fine ends, that's when they open up when we have this cardio boost, and that can protect us against Alzheimer's. This is all now data which is slowly emerging. Like it is going to take time to kind of really come out with a formal way. If you actually go through social media, there'll be such a varied number of experiences that people share. The goal is, I always feel like, what do you really want?
Right.
Like for me, it's very clear. I feel that, okay, I'm 53 today, I have 47 more years to go. When I turn 50, I announce to my kids, I'm on the other side. So now every birthday I tell them, now I have only these many years to go. And so now when they tell me, so it's become a joke. But the point is, like, we know that there is something called a marginal decade, which Dr. Peter DHEA talks a lot about, where is the last 10 years where we will decline. So, and he says that if that is meant to happen, you have to think about how are you going to lead your life until that decline. And he uses a term called backcasting, which I love. And ever since I heard that, I decided I was going to backcast everything.
What does it mean?
It means basically my goal is at 90, I'm traveling alone. I am putting my cabin luggage by myself, and I will not take a 20-year-old tell me, auntie, may I help you? So it is, or dadi, or whatever else that he chooses to call me. So the point is that if I want to do that at 90, can I do it today?
Right.
Can I do it at 65? Can I do it at 75? So it cannot happen overnight.
Yeah.
The problem that I see, amongst behavioral problems amongst most people is that they say, oh, I want to be 50 kilos. They don't say, I want to do everything to be 50 kilos.
No.
Your health goals can't be linked to the number on the scale.
No.
It has to be linked to the life you want to lead.
No.
Yeah.
And you said, both
people
said,
know.
like, the weight is not fat.
Yeah.
It's not, you can try and work on the fat if you need to and bring that down, but weight can be
And
good.
muscle is heavier than fat, which is why
Exactly.
I keep telling people, don't lose weight, lose fat.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But I feel like we need to functionally, we are, as a human race, we do not like to talk about death. We do not like to think about it. Like death and menopause, so much in common, right? Both inevitable.
Right.
And we don't want to talk about both of them.
And
like
everyone
why?
gets it.
Exactly. So I think, like, if we think of ourselves as mortals and then say, hey, I'm going to go at X, let me just say now I'll go at this age.
Right.
Predict it for yourself. Let's see what you want to do by then, right?
Right.
Like,
And
I think
optimize your
absolutely,
time.
absolutely. We cannot be saying, women, that Rona Dhona, that I don't want to be a burden on my children. Show it to me.
Yeah.
Show it to me today. What are you doing about it?
Yeah.
So,
True.
Yeah.
In terms of lifestyle changes, Mini, what are some of the key ones that you've felt the benefit of for you?
First and foremost is strength training. I mean, I've always gone to the gym, but it's always been like, even if I don't go 2 weeks, nothing will change spectacularly. I think just finally acknowledging that this is non-negotiable, lifting weights is non-negotiable, like Doc says, building a muscle bank, it's literally like buying gold today. It's like you are buying it and you're storing it for yourself where no one can take it away from you. So strength training, sleep hygiene, eating, right. So I'm not much of a drinker, but now I'm just like, if I don't really want, alcohol was the easiest for me to throw out of my system. Sugar, just getting your gut, which is your new brain, like they all say, to eat more protein, because you're also now going to the gym and building your muscle. A big component of that is to eat protein. One of the problems with Indian women is we don't eat enough protein. If you notice, we'll always eat the vegetables on the side, or we'll do one, something, but there's never any real protein. Whether you're vegetarian or non-vegetarian, there are sources of protein. We try to avoid that. That's how we're built. You have to actively prioritize it. And fiber. Okay, luckily with Indian cuisine that we have a lot of fiber, but just actively going for protein and fiber meals, which has really, really helped me. More water, electrolytes, protein shakes, supplements, magnesium at night, all of those things are now pretty stationary for me. Sunlight, taking time out, me time. I make sure that I have decompression hours actually mandated by my moods every day. I say no very easily, which was a problem for me. I was such a people pleaser. I could just not get around to saying no. So having those boundaries have really, really helped me. And now I literally feel I have reached a state of, now that the hormones are managed and lifestyle is in place, I actually feel better than I've ever felt before, Soha. I feel like I'm sitting on the top triangle of Maslow's hierarchy, self-actualization. I'm really feeling actualized.
Wow,
and
amazing.
I mean, if I can do that and I'm still in Peri,
then
it's not rocket science.
And are these conversations, like Dr. Sukhpreet is having these conversations with her children, are these things that you talk about also with the younger generation, with your children? Like
my family is menopause PhD
Yeah.
educated. They are now, they know, they very easily use terms like estrogen and cortisol and all of that. So I think it's just important to have these conversations out in the open. I have forbidden my daughter to say my stomach is hurting. I'm like, I'm on my period.
Right.
You will say this.
unless the stomach is hurting.
Unless the stomach is hurting, then you will not say it. So we have, even for me, I don't want to be on the back foot to say, oh, today, you know, and I've always hated this term, oh, she's hormonal. You know, I've always hated it because people have used it very easily to dismiss women.
Yeah.
So I don't want anyone to say, oh, it's one of those days for mom or nothing like that. You know, today I'm not in the mood. So everyone in my family has been sensitized.
Yeah.
And I try and make as many men in my ambit sensitized to this. So I start with my, you know, business school friends, and they're like, wow, we haven't even thought about it. And their wives are only minimizing themselves. No, mine is over. I didn't notice it.
I didn't feel it.
But that doesn't mean, maybe you just got blindsided. So yeah, each one teach one happens in my house.
I feel because some of these conversations might be difficult to have with husbands, but if you can have them at least with your sons growing up, or they observe you,
or
you talk about
or your
it
male
openly,
friends.
at least we created, the future generation might be slightly more empathetic
Absolutely.
to things like this. I want to touch on some of the silent symptoms, because these are things that people talk about a lot. The weight gain worries women, the sleep worries women, it affects us, but they're silent things that are happening to our bodies. We've spoken about cognitive health a little bit, cardiac health, bone health. These are things we don't think about so much, but they're affected through menopause. And they're things that perhaps we should be doing. For me, I mean, I spoke about UTIs for women in their senior years. Even young, one of the first symptoms is things like candida infections, recurrent, and you don't know why it's happening, and you're being prescribed antifungal treatment all the time till your liver's like, okay, I'm resistant to this, now I'm resistant to this, and that was what was happening for me as well. So the silent symptoms that we don't talk about so much, and the fact that every woman who perhaps is approaching menopause should consider HRT irrespective. Is that true?
I think every woman, as you mentioned, you know, there are these long-term impacts. You're talking about the increase in cardiovascular disease. When we look at women, young women, we never hear of a 30-year-old, 35-year-old having a heart attack, but we do hear of men. In fact, I think I read some statistic about Indian men, 50% of them have a heart attack under the age of 50. So we don't hear that amongst women, right? Because we are happily, nicely estrogen protected. And now that that's going away, we are looking at a sudden increase in cardiac problems. And not only that, the way women present is so differently. The symptoms are different, there are certain changes in the ECG which are different, and that very often they will get missed. Very often they will end up spending more time in ICUs, more deaths due to heart attacks, just because they're not recognized so well. Sure. And then again, we are looking at the big one that I feel, again, bone health. It's extremely close to my heart. I feel that's the one thing that, you know, a fracture at 65, you're not thinking I could have done something at 45. So, and a fracture doesn't mean just immobility. It means the rest of your life. It means basically you may, if you're not moving, you'll get diabetes, heart attacks, everything else gets piled on, mental health. And so that's a big one to happen. And then, of course, genitourinary syndrome of menopause. So the risk of UTI is going up. And more than that, dryness, like who wants dryness?
No.
So, yeah, so I think like basically having that conversation about hormone therapy, because we're talking about an optimum time. We're talking about that window under 60 and within 10 years of menopause. I'm not saying it's you can't use it beyond, it's just more nuanced, but let's just look at the window of opportunity. Just around 10 years from menopause, that's your time. And maybe you're the one who'll say, or someone says, I've got these symptoms, but it's okay, I don't mind those symptoms, and they're going to die down in 2 to 3 years, so what the hell, I don't want to really take hormones. But now, if someone has the conversation with you and says, but you know what, you can fracture at 65. And let's just have a look at your bone densitometry and take a call. Then maybe, just maybe, your 65-year-old won't be upset with the doctor you saw at 50. And so I think that conversation every woman does deserve.
Yes.
Let her choose.
Yeah.
But the conversation needs to be on the table. She needs to know this is available today, and let her not take it if she doesn't want to take it.
Yeah.
But we have to put it out there.
So this is something that everyone should be aware of.
Absolutely.
And that,
Yeah. Soha, also it's like to find, today the real struggle is to find a doctor who is HRT educated, who is well versed with menopause medicine. 90% of the women are just asking me, where can I find a HR? I mean, I don't know how many people can you send to MenopauseWize?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I just feel that demand will create supply.
Yeah.
Doctor herself is creating modules for doctors to just get on top of things, you know, because people, they will need to now address it, because women will ask questions, thankfully, because now they're advocating for their own health.
Yeah.
That is where the bottleneck is, that we need to find people who will put that option on the table and let you make that choice.
Right.
That's where we are at the moment. And just to add to all those silent symptoms that we were talking about, there are so many, there's some 62 symptoms that you can't join the dots on.
Exactly.
Joint pain,
No, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, it's
tinnitus, plantar fasciitis.
Yeah.
All of this was happening to different women in my own family, and I couldn't connect the dots.
Right.
You know.
Are there some tests that you did before you went into addressing this HRT specifically?
Yes, there are, but I will let Doc handle it, because she'll be.
So the problem, there's a huge problem with tests. So of course, like for diagnosis of menopause, nobody needs a test, because menopause, 12 months, you haven't got a period, and you know, that's menopause. But for perimenopause, while the transition's happening, now we discussed how levels are fluctuating every day. It depends on what snapshot you get that day.
Yeah.
And that snapshot could tell you that your levels are absolutely normal. And then you get dismissed then.
Right.
So what helps is tracking symptoms.
Right.
And I feel like that is something that every woman, before walking into a doctor's office, track your symptoms over months. Go with solid data.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when we go with vague symptoms, we get vague answers. The doctor has 10 minutes. And yeah, you know, we need more training, and we are putting out more modules out there. We are putting on more information, and people are working towards it. We need patience.
Yeah.
But it will happen. It will happen. I'm extremely optimistic about it.
Yeah.
But we do need, you know, taking that right now, if you look globally, there is no single test which is going to tell you this woman is in perimenopause. In fact, if you look at the definition of perimenopause, there's a criteria called STRAW plus 10, which comes from 2012, and it hasn't been revised ever since. And it goes on the basis of your menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
7 days plus minus from the previous cycle, and within 10 months you have to have 2 such episodes. So basically it goes on the basis of that. But now we're seeing women who are coming with brain fog but don't have any menstrual
There is no metric for that. And also, if you just look at the strange lab packages that are women platinum packages in labs, they are just testing the very basic parameters. Your women's profile is like 2 hormones,
Right.
which could be any time in the middle of any cycle, like Doc said. So I just feel there needs to be a lot of thought before you design a women's health package, because especially for perimenopausal women, or to identify that they're in perimenopause. There's so many things that are not part of the package. Insulin is not, so many other hormones is not. So I just feel that needs to be looked at by the doctors who are designing it. Plus there are so many other telling factors that you have to put together. So as a health coach, when I'm meeting clients, it's 1 hour of just understanding and joining the dots of what's on the thing and how you're feeling before they go. So before they can advocate themselves to a doctor who is obviously so busy, you know. So it takes an hour for that doctor. Which doctor has an hour to give you to understand your symptoms?
Exactly. So one is the symptoms and one is the blood work.
Yeah.
But there is some blood work like the FSH and the AMH that you would typically do before you start HRT?
So each test has a positive and negative predictive value. In very simple terms, if the FSH is high, then I know it's perimenopause.
Right.
But if you get a low one, then I can't confidently say that she's not in perimenopause. So it doesn't have a predictive value when it comes to low levels.
Right.
AMH, again, there's like lots of data coming out, but AMH now will tell us more or less, okay, if it is extremely low, I can't really say that you are going close to menopause. But if you come to me with perimenopausal symptoms and I find an AMH that's high, then I can confidently say it's not perimenopause.
I see.
So each of these tests comes with its own problems. There's
Right.
no definite diagnostic.
So like we're saying, it's
test.
individualized, and even when you start HRT, it'll be a journey of
Right.
understanding and constant supervision and constant testing, journaling,
Yeah.
keeping track of your symptoms, being in tune with your body, and being in touch with somebody who you're doing this with.
Absolutely.
And tweaking along the way, I'm assuming. The question that I think a lot of people have also is, when you start HRT, this is something you'll be doing for the rest of your life?
I usually say, you're not getting married to anything.
I mean, you're marrying progesterone.
Yeah, I'm marrying it.
And it always sounds funny because I'm divorced. But but the point is that if you're going to look at, the amount of data we have today, let's make a decision today on the basis of the information we have today.
Okay.
And today you have these certain health problems. Today we have this much evidence. Putting that together, this is your best course of action.
Right.
Come back to me in a year's time. Your indications, contraindications may change, your situation may change, more data may be available, and now I will tailor make it that day. I think humans, women, all of us have a problem with uncertainty.
Yeah.
It's difficult. And when these vague answers come, then they're like, but what if in 5 years you tell me to get off it? I said, then if it is harmful at that stage, I'm going to have to tell you to get off it.
Right.
I'm
But-
ready for that.
Yeah.
I measure my estrogen levels like every month, just
You do?
for fun.
But that's excessive.
Yeah, no, it is excessive every month and a half.
Well,
But
as long as you're doing it willingly and voluntarily.
I do that.
Okay.
Because
Yes.
I'm also guinea pigging myself to say,
Yeah,
"Cha, this
sure.
this is working now.
Sure.
This month my symptom." I try. Like I said, it's so important to be your own health advocate.
Yes.
It's so important to be in touch with how you're feeling. What has made you feel better? What did I do this month that made me feel better, more energetic,
Absolutely.
slept well? Keep a track of it. You can't rely on a doctor to,
So what day of the month do you track your estrogen? I mean,
there is no day of the month. Now there's no month.
day of the
There's no
month.
metric to
So then,
which day it is.
So I'm saying, because I also want to do that, is what I'm saying,
Yeah.
is that because it started with progesterone being low, and then estrogen fluctuates to the
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
So I may ovulate, there may be high
So
estrogen,
I
may
was, for
not.
example, a poor absorber of estradiol. So I shifted from gel
Like how the
to
responsibility is
vag-
on you.
Yeah.
You are a poor absorber.
Yeah, so doc, she said, "You are one of those rare poor absorbers." I'm like, "I'm so sorry. What can I do
Yeah.
for you?"
Yeah.
So I have so I track it. Now I track it. I understand it better. Then I text her at 5 a.m. in the morning, because that's when she's sitting in
Yes.
front of sunlight. Say, "This is it."
If
So
you have
we
the
know we're
sunlight.
on track.
Okay.
But my main, and I love to use the term metric, is that if I'm feeling better, then
Yeah.
that's great.
Right.
How am I feeling better? I'm focused. I'm not foggy. I'm sleeping well. I'm eating well. My weight is off. I'm able to put my workout in twice a week, 4 times a week. It's good.
Yeah. And for some people who are on HRT, some of the things they might be concerned with, especially if they start continuous estradiol support with progesterone support, which is essential to take if you're on estrogen support and if you have a uterus. Spotting, bleeding, cause of concern?
It can happen in the first 3 to 6 months after initiating, and every time there is a change in dose. So, simple things, what happens in practical day-to-day life. I take a flight from Vancouver, it takes me around 22 hours to get here. Somewhere along the way, my estrogen, progesterone timing has completely changed, and I land here in 2 days, I spot. It is like routine now.
Right.
First time, panic. Go for an ultrasound, ye kar lo, wo kar lo. But then over time, it's like, I know now it's just gone out of rhythm.
But can you get a full bleed? Can you get a period?
You can. There are warning signs. Like, I don't say anyone who has spotting, just take it for granted. Definitely go through the thing I did myself, right? The point is to make sure that you're getting that ultrasound, you're getting that checkup, because sometimes the lining can become thick. The amount of progesterone may not be enough for that amount of estrogen, which means you need more protection. So each one is different, and usually the warning is 3 to 6 months if you experience some spotting. Don't worry about it. If the bleeding is prolonged, heavy, do get in touch with the office.
What is prolonged? Like how many days?
Like 7 to 10 days,
Okay.
and especially if it's heavy, then definitely come back. 1 in 5 women have fibroids, so sometimes the fibroid can get irritated. So again, they are counseled that if you experience bleeding, it could be a fibroid that's growing, come back to us. So there are like systems in place that, okay, these are the warning signs, you need to let us know about it.
Okay.
But a lot of times it is nothing, but it could be something.
Right.
Yeah.
Mini's looking at you, Sri.
No, I wanted to ask you, so how many times a year do you recommend women to just run a mammo or a sono or USG abdomen?
USG is not really a screening, ultrasound is not really a screening test for anything. We do it as a routine once before we start off to see if there are any contraindications, like if there are any fibroids sitting over there, we need to counsel the woman that this can irritate your fibroid.
How do you check if your lining has thickened or not thickened? If you're not spotting, do you assume it's cool?
You assume it's cool. Yeah, yeah. So it's not mandatory to get it done. Mammograms usually once in 2 years. We don't have a protocol in place, particular guidelines here, but screening methods in most countries, it's once in 2 years, unless something has been found and you've been asked to follow up sooner than 6 months, 1 year. That depends on we have something called BIRADS category, so you may be called back earlier. If you have dense breasts, then that's something that you want to follow up again sooner.
Right.
So
that risk of cancer that people are now starting to, perhaps de-link with HRT, and the fact that you've alluded to the fact that your minimal risk of cancer increases from very obtuse things as well, and we're not aware, and those things we embrace, this natural life that we think we're leading, but we're actually, it's a very toxic life. Some of it is involuntary, like just breathing air. We can't do much about that, but some of the things is our lifestyle that opens us up to, and I think, and I don't know if I'm misquoting you, you said that opting to work a night shift also increases your risk of cancer.
That's correct.
And people don't realize this at all, but they won't take HRT.
No. And I feel like it's, of course, it's breast cancer or any cancer is multifaceted. So we are looking at many different factors which contribute to its actual development, not just this one thing. Otherwise, hormones would have been on the list of carcinogens. They're not.
Right.
I mean, you do insulin and thyroxine also, they're all hormones.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And somehow nobody's calling them unnatural. You're literally taking insulin. Diabetics are taking insulin. Most of us are popping thyroxine as soon as we wake up for thyroid, which is such a common Indian situation. They're all hormones. I just like to inform people.
Right, but the sex hormones they're thinking about, like progesterone, estrogen.
Because sex hormones are only used to
have sex and have children. Yes.
Yeah. But I think there is, of course, there is a change in risk. There is a change in risk depending on the molecule that you're taking of hormones and for how long you're taking. So we know that we have data from the DHEA, and that is the worst case scenario. So we're looking at the worst case scenario using a synthetic progestogen, which was called metroxyprogesterone acetate. And if you look at the worst case scenario, what they found was, there are two types of risks that we calculate. Basically, when you want to compare two numbers, we use either subtraction or we use division. When we divide, we get a very magnified number. Let's say I say your risk of dying in a Maruti is 4 out of 1,000, and your risk of dying in a Mercedes is 5 out of 1,000. Now, what will the newspapers say? 25% increase in risk of dying in a Mercedes. Right? Now that is the risk that we actually saw. But now you subtract it. It's basically 1 out of 1,000. So if you look at breast cancer risk in this simple way, the absolute risk was only 8 out of 10,000 women per year of use, as opposed to a 26% increase. So the numbers were 30 and 38.
Yes.
38 divided by 30, we got 1.26, and 38 minus 30, we got 8.
Right.
That basically means a 0.08% increase of risk per year.
Right.
So I think if women are actually told that, but you have a 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 risk of suffering of osteoporotic fracture after 50, you got to now. It's that story about the sheep fearing the wolf all its life to finally get slaughtered by the shepherd.
Right.
right? So we will keep fearing breast cancer, and as a population, we have a huge advantage. The risk of breast cancer in India for a woman, lifetime risk, is 1 in 29, as opposed to 1 in 8 in the UK. And if it is 1 in 29, and my risk of fracture is 1 in 3, you know, it's important that I am giving the facts about hormone therapy and how it's going to change my risk.
Yes.
Plus, we have people constantly saying, oh, risk of breast cancer has gone up in India. It has. It has significantly gone. The trend line is upward. We've not been prescribing hormones.
Right, right.
So this is happening despite not prescribing. No?
Right.
So I think we've got to look at Indian women, we are not moving.
Which is why conversations like these are revolutionary.
And that's why these conversations 3 flights of stairs
up.
So that you have to walk and be mobile to get here. But yeah, it's a very sedentary lifestyle, and Indians are notorious for being sedentary. And these are also huge contributors to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like the WHO data is scary.
Yeah.
It is scary. If you look at 2020, I think we were, there were around over 50% of women were not meeting the criteria of movement.
Yeah.
2030, we are expected to hit around 68%.
My God.
That's almost 7 out of 10 women are not moving, are not doing 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week. Come on, it's 22 minutes a day.
Yes. And what, 7,000 steps, 10,000 steps, what are we aiming for now a day?
Yeah. It's something. It is something.
Yeah.
It is something. I feel like we are not moving and someone's going to pay the price for it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a population.
You referred to synthetic. And just as we come towards the end of this, because I realize also it's very individualized, so we can't make blanket statements when it comes to HRT, but should anybody be taking synthetic HRT?
No.
It still exists, progesterone you said, and that might be perhaps more worrisome.
So yes and no. So if you look at the molecule that was used then, perhaps there's very limited or no space for it anymore. But what happens in the perimenopause is that there is so much fluctuation that sometimes we are forced to use certain other synthetic progestogens for symptom control, because progesterone sometimes can't control it.
Right.
Is that the reason a lot of women come to me saying that their doctor prescribed them a birth control pill the moment they felt signs of perimenopause, which I find, like, why would they do that?
Because there is a place for it.
Okay.
There is a place for it because what happens is that when you use the so-called bioidentical hormones, the doses are really small, and those doses have been used. Those doses don't suppress ovulation. So now a woman is producing her own hormones from time to time, and then you layer another one. Now when she is low and it just plugs the gap nicely, she is absolutely in control, good symptoms, blah, blah. And then if she is ovulating herself, now suddenly she has a bump of hormones, she's feeling miserable. And that's when women then discontinue taking hormones because they say, I had more side effects.
Right.
So sometimes you have to use the birth control pill. Today we have better options. We also have the hormone IUD, which is available. That's again synthetic, but it has its place. You
That's
can't Mirena. Or we have other brands as well available in India. But the point is that there is, unfortunately, all the studies done are in the post-menopause. We don't have randomized controlled trials for perimenopause. We just don't.
Right.
So it is to use hormones during that time. We don't know if it is actually going to be, what is it going to do?
Yeah. And then there's the compounded and the OTC. That's like another differentiation. And I know in India there is a trend towards getting a lot of compounded HRT. The advantage being that, of course, maybe it can be individualized as per your blood work. The disadvantage being that who's making this, what are they putting in it? It's not approved. In your experience, typically what are women gravitating towards?
I think I see more people comfortable with the non-compounded commercialized versions of HRT because we are on step 1. We are taking baby steps.
Yeah.
So for me personally, it would be scarier to customize something where I don't know where the ingredients are coming from. What is the, I mean, compounded internationally means a completely different thing. And here I would say I'd rather go with the tried and tested brands that I have now. Unfortunately, in India, we still don't have patches freely available, so we have to rely on the couple of people who are, producing estradiol gel, which is bioidentical. So I feel that women are more comfortable with that. But Doc will have something else to add to what a compounding version can actually do.
So I think there are problems with compounded at multiple levels. The first level being that the standardization. Like I usually compare it with milk. You buy milk from you buy a Tetra Pak of any of the brands as opposed to from your Doodh Wala Bhaiya, and you just don't know what's in it. It can vary from day to day, which means you're taking different nutrients day to day, and you don't have the exact breakdown. This much calcium, this much protein, and etc. etc. So I think that one is a big one. The second thing is that pharmaceuticals there are regulations that keep them really tight, which means they just have to provide all the information available, including warnings, including what can go wrong, your side effects, everything. The problem with compounded is they're telling you it's safer. If it is the same estrogen that I'm taking in an FDA approved bottle, then it has the same effects. It has the same side effects. It should have the same warnings.
Right.
If it is going to help me, then it is also going to harm me in the same exact way.
Yes.
And if I can get something standardized, then why would I take it in the compounded form, paying ridiculous amounts of money?
I mean, and it doesn't need to be customized to, or individualized to a level. I can understand getting into compounded medicine if the dosage is so specific that the commercialized one doesn't work for you.
Right.
Or it's not available in the market, which is why compounded medicine started in the first place, right? Why do you need to do that? Why would you?
That is my question, that now it is readily available to you OTC.
Yes.
And that is where you should be going for it.
Yes.
It's not available OTC, it's still prescription.
I mean that you can
purchase it from
yes,
absolutely.
In India.
Absolutely.
That's what I mean. Are these hormones natural hormones, or are they? I mean, the bioidentical hormones that are they natural? And when I take them, my body will stop producing those hormones. And follow-on question is: if I'm on HRT, can I get pregnant?
If you are perimenopausal, you can get pregnant. If you are HRT, because it's not stopping you from ovulating. So you could still have.
But over time, it would.
Over time, once you're postmenopausal, that means you finish 12 months from your last period.
But not my own hormonal cycle. I'm saying even if I start HRT and I'm perimenopausal, and like Mini, I might be perimenopausal for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Then can I get pregnant?
You can.
Okay.
You can.
So
I mean, you won't even know then, because you may not be getting your period.
No, if you're not getting your period, and that's why the definition is important. If you're 12 months away from your period, you can't get pregnant.
Okay.
Then basically fertility is practically zero.
Right.
But if you're in the perimenopause, when you're getting your period once in maybe 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, there can still be freak ovulation, and you can get pregnant even if you're on hormones, because it's not stopping you from ovulating.
But you may not bleed if you're on continual estrogen and
possible.
progesterone.
It's possible.
And you may be pregnant.
Exactly, and therefore discussing contraception is really important with perimenopausal women.
Yeah.
That's the other area where you say, okay, do you want to use a low dose birth control pill instead? Or do you want to put in the IUD instead? And then, just...
Can I ask you a question I've never asked you before? Women are now planning their pregnancies fairly late, at 40, 42. I have a lot of friends who are having babies at 40 and 42. What happens when perimenopause is already set in and they're still kind of planning to have a baby? What can be the potential impact
It's not fun.
on it?
Basically, you're talking
The potential
about
impact on what?
on yourself or
No,
on your
obviously
child?
you should not be taking HRT if you're still trying to get pregnant, right?
Well, sometimes it's used. So the same estradiol that we use for, unfortunately, it's not being prescribed for the reason it is approved to be prescribed in this country. So we have something called the CDSCO that governs India's drug, all the regulation, and it has been licensed for use for postmenopausal symptoms. It is being used, but currently in IVF centers for preparation of the endometrium.
Ah, I see.
So that's an off-label indication, and that's what people, we are sometimes scared of using hormones in the perimenopause. Oh, it's off-label. It is off-label, but so is it using in IVF cycles. But off-label is not illegal.
Right.
Off-label just basically
That is
means
not what was meant.
exactly, but there is enough evidence, and the patient knows that, the woman knows that, okay, it is off-label, but we're going to use it for your symptom control.
Right.
So that's really important in clarifying. But if someone does get pregnant, there are many things. Your fertility is actually very low. So chances are low, but it can happen. Pregnancy can be hard, higher miscarriage rate, odds of having an abnormality when you're older much higher. And the postpartum then can be, again, there can be a lot of mood swings, a lot of depression. Yeah.
Is life more expensive for you now? On
Not
HRT?
that much. A bottle of estradiol gel in India is like $1,250.
And that lasts
it lasts me a month, depending on what dose you're taking. A progesterone pill, 10 progesterone pills in a pack is like 100 something. So yeah, it's raised my cost of living by $2,000 a month.
And the side effects of the progesterone pills, do you experience any?
Yeah, great side effects. I get great sleep.
And the supplements, because I've seen the supplements, are important.
Well, okay,
it's not that we can just do with the HRT. There are things that we can supplement with.
Again, highly individual, highly based on the deficiencies that you have and what are the symptoms that you're facing for which you're taking supplements.
So you do the blood work before?
Yes, because you can't just take it because Soha's taking it and Mini's taking it, so it must be great for me. What is it that you're trying to sort with it?
Right.
Please correct me if I'm
Absolutely.
wrong, because I don't want to sort of say something that is not factually correct. But the way I look at it is, if you have a deficiency or if there's a symptom for that, you address it with a supplement. There is, of course, a host of supplements that are par for course when you are, post 40, which is your calcium and your, I love creatine, so I take creatine, I take collagen, but I don't know if they are essential. I love magnesium. I try and talk people into taking it because again, it's very calming too. I had a lot of, muscle cramps and joint pain, and it really helped me regularize those and get good sleep. But again, different types of magnesium for different folks, for different strokes or whatever it's called, different strokes for different folks. So there are 6 types of magnesium. Which one is suited for you? It can only come from what are your symptoms.
But what are your 3 for you?
My top 3?
Yeah.
I take weird ass supplements.
Yeah,
So
I know.
I take Isabgol, not because of why our grandparents used to take it, because it's great fiber and it keeps my gut really, really, and I don't feel guilty if I've not eaten too much fiber that day. I take magnesium. I take omega, which is because my cholesterol suddenly blipped up, which was my first sort of red flag.
Right.
It's like, my cholesterol is for people walking around with no exercise and bad eating habits. I took it as a personal failing. So omega, yes. I take different cycles of selenium, sometimes iodine to activate my thyroid. I alternate. I sort of don't take everything every month. So I take ashwagandha, but sometimes for a couple of months I'll go off it and then I'll bring it back. Kabir and I are both freaks. We try to do, we try to test everything in the market, longevity supplements. So that's our romance.
You've replaced watching television and that with testing supplements, which is great. I have 2 closing questions, but before the closing question, just one reference to DHEA. Because people are sort of giving it, some hormone specialists give it out as a wellness supplement.
I take it.
Right. Yeah. So, but for people who may not know, what is it actually doing to us?
There's no evidence. There's no evidence to support taking it. It's available over the counter. It is a precursor to, if you look at the whole hormone pathway, everything starts with cholesterol. Some of it will form DHEA, DHES, testosterone,
So
estrogen.
it'll convert into something.
It'll convert something, but you just don't know what is getting converted to.
Exactly.
Then. So my thing is that if your testosterone is low and that's impacting your libido, take the testosterone, na?
Right.
Why do you have to take this?
Right.
And if your estrogen, progesterone are a problem, take that.
Right.
Take what you need instead of taking something far behind in the pathway and you have no idea where it's going and there is no body of evidence. The fact that it's over the counter, it just makes me a little concerned.
Okay. Because some people say, oh, it's great for your libido, it's great for energy, it's great for your skin, it's like that youth hormone. So you're saying go to the core of the issue.
Absolutely.
Because DHEA is going to convert into something, so convert into what you're lacking.
Exactly. And then again, if you look at supplements, there's like so much data which is, scary, starting from melatonin to DHEA.
Yeah.
The amount available in each of those, we just don't know we're getting what we're getting.
Understood.
And the other masala that's going along with it.
Yes. Okay.
Like even the most ratified sources.
Yeah.
I was going to ask.
I just feel most of us are, like if you're living in India, most of us are sourcing it from here. And then, it's hard to generalize it.
Yeah. Closing questions, referring again to Pauseitive. Being a working person and being ambitious and being driven, you've said it's important to sort of also embrace that pause and taking a pause and maybe slowing down. So what has slowing down perhaps taught you recently?
It's given me clarity and focus that I didn't think I had. I mean, I thought I had it, but now I realize I didn't. It's helped me set boundaries, focus on what I really want to do. Okay, and that doesn't make me selfish or put myself out of the family structure in any way. It just makes me define what works for me.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is really important for the rest of it to kind of fall in place. So, yes, I want to be healthy. I want to feel as good as everyone else is feeling. And I'm going to give myself time without apology and guilt, which is something. And also that this whole running in a race thing, it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. And you only realize it when you stop running it. Because
It's
when
true.
you're running it, it's like you're running the race, you're running the race.
Yeah.
So, I guess it's just age that brings about this clarity, but I think this transition has helped me filter down the things that weren't settling so right in the last 30 years. So I feel more empowered,
Yeah.
definitely.
And Dr. Sukhpreet, is there something that we could do to maybe shift the needle from secrecy and shame to just being able to be more aware and make informed choices? What is needed?
I think we need more voices, more voices, more voices, more voices, like the both of you. We need, like I have a long list. I could go on for another 3 hours on what we need, but I think basically we need a systems approach. Menopause isn't about one thing. It isn't about hormones only. It, whether we talk about its cause, not its cause, but basically the root of it, or we talk about managing it. We are looking at systems again, holistically. One thing's not going to patch everything. We have to look at it as systems within. We have to look at systems when you're talking about prescribers. How are we going to approach it as a systemic problem? Otherwise, India is sitting on the largest epidemic of osteoporosis. We have by far the largest burden of low bone density in the world. And that is so scary. If we are 400 million women in 26, we're supposed to be 400 million postmenopausal women. And now imagine 1 in 3 of them having a fracture. We're sitting on a time bomb. So I think like if we don't approach it as a systemic problem, it won't be a systemic problem, and we're not going to come out with patchwork. Someone selling some magic supplement on social media and saying it'll cure all your problems. If it was so true, that would really win a Nobel Prize. But I think to zoom out, look at it as a population problem, and we need all of us collectively doing our bit. It's not going to happen just on its own.
I want to thank you both. And just again, one last thing, Mini, if there was one thing that perhaps not you could have done differently, but if people are watching, perhaps a woman is watching in her 40s, perhaps going through this transition, is there something that she could do to ease this process?
Get on top of your health. Just read, inform yourself, advocate for yourself. Don't just rely on the system to help you out,
Yeah.
because it'll take time to build.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we all did, and I'm just very grateful. Thank you very much for being on this. I know it was a detailed discussion, but it is a huge subject, and we try to distill it as much as possible.
And you were great.
No, thank you. But thank you for taking out the time. I know you have limited time over here, and thank you for walking up all the stairs.
Loved it.
And coming so early in the morning. But thank you both.
And thank you for talking about this.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you so
guys. Thank you so much, Dr. Sukhpreet, and thank you so much, Mini, for just doing all the wonderful work that you're doing and for really talking about these issues that are hugely important. And I think it just reminds us, today's conversation, that menopause is not the end of anything. Whether it's vitality, desire, agency, it's a transition that every woman actually experiences in a very individual way. And what matters, I think, is having the right information, the confidence to ask questions, and the support to make choices that feel right for you. So thank you both for bringing clarity to a conversation that honestly up until now there's been a whole lot of confusion about, and we need to just have more of these conversations openly. Thank you all at home also for taking the time out to listen. Whether you choose to take HRT or not, to be curious is what matters, and the conversation really does belong to you. So if this episode helped you or resonated with you in any way, please do like, share and subscribe, because these are conversations that every woman deserves to hear. Thank you for showing up and for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.